You're born somewhere in Central Asia, the Caucasus, or the Balkans around the 1300s, but you're not going to stay there long. As a young boy between 8 and 12 years old, you're taken from your family by slave traders who specifically look for non-Muslim kids to sell to the Mamluk Sultanate in Egypt and Syria. That's right, you're literally purchased to become a soldier, because that's how the Mamluks operated. They bought kids, trained them into elite warriors, and built one of history's most powerful military forces. Talk about a rough start to life. Your journey to Egypt is brutal. You're chained up with other captured boys and marched or sailed hundreds of miles across harsh terrain. Many kids don't even survive the journey, dying from disease, exhaustion, or straight up abuse from the slave traders. But you make it, only to be examined like cattle at the slave markets of Cairo or Damascus. Military officials inspect your teeth, muscles, and overall build to see if you're worthy of becoming a Mamluk. Congratulations, you passed the inspection and someone just paid good money for you. Now your real problems begin. The moment you're purchased, your old life is completely erased. Your name, your family, your past, all gone. You're given a new Arabic name, forced to convert to Islam, and thrown into a barracks with other slave boys. Your new home is basically a military school prison where you'll spend the next decade of your life. But hey, at least you have company. Other terrified kids who also don't speak the language and have no idea what's happening. Your education is intense and starts immediately. First things first, you need to learn Arabic because all your training will be in that language. You also begin studying the Quran and Islamic law because being a good Muslim is part of being a good Mamluk. But don't worry, you'll have plenty of time for religious studies in between the brutal physical training that's about to break your body down and rebuild it. By the time you're a teenager, your daily routine is nothing but military training. And I mean, all day, every day. You wake up before dawn for prayer, then it's straight to the training grounds. You learn horseback riding, but this isn't your casual trot around the stable. You're learning to shoot arrows while riding at full gallop, to swing swords from horseback, and to maneuver in full armor. Fall off? Get back up and do it again, but this time with a beating as motivation. The weapon training is relentless. You're primarily trained with the composite bow. The Mamluks were legendary archers who could hit targets while riding at full speed. You also learn swordsmanship with the curved saber, lance fighting from horseback, mace combat, and even polo, which wasn't just a game but actually combat training disguised as sport. And if you think your instructors go easy on you because you're just a kid, think again. Training accidents regularly result in serious injuries and even death. Survival isn't guaranteed. Your diet is actually pretty good compared to most people in this time period. The Sultan needs strong warriors, so you get plenty of meat, bread, and fruits. Your body is considered an investment, and they want returns on that investment in the form of your fighting ability. You're even given a regular allowance to buy extra food or small luxuries, one of the few perks of your otherwise miserable existence. The one thing you absolutely cannot do as a Mamluk trainee is try to escape. Attempted escapees are hunted down and executed in front of the other trainees as a warning. But honestly, where would you even go? You're in a foreign land, you've been converted to a new religion, and your homeland is thousands of miles away. Your only choice is to excel at your training and hope to survive long enough to gain some freedom. By your late teens, you've somehow survived the training, and you're now considered a full-fledged Mamluk warrior. You're given your own horse, weapons, and armor, all of the highest quality. Mamluk equipment was legendary. Composite bows that could pierce armor, Damascus steel swords that could cut through metal, and lamellar armor that provided mobility while still protecting you. You even get a distinctive uniform featuring a special turban and specific colors that identify which Mamluk regiment you belong to. Now, you're officially part of one of the most elite military forces in the world. The Mamluks were so good at warfare that they defeated the Mongols at the Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260, one of the few armies to ever stop the Mongol expansion. That's the company you're keeping now. Pretty impressive for a kid who was purchased at a slave market. Your 20s are spent fighting in various campaigns. The Mamluk Sultanate is constantly at war with someone. Crusaders, Mongols, rival Muslim states, or putting down internal rebellions. You might be sent to fight in Syria, Arabia, Anatolia, or defending Egypt itself. The Mamluks weren't just defensive fighters, they went on plenty of offensive campaigns too, expanding their territory whenever possible. The one weird thing about being a Mamluk is that technically you're still a slave, but you're also elite military. You can't marry until you're formally freed, which usually happens in your mid-20s after proving yourself in battle. Once freed, you become part of the Mamluk military caste, which is actually the ruling class of the entire sultanate. That's right. In the Mamluk system, the slaves eventually become the masters. Former slave soldiers run the government, command the army, and one of them is even the sultan himself. But don't get too excited about your prospects. The Mamluk system was intensely competitive and incredibly dangerous. Advancement came through proving yourself in battle, building alliances with other Mamluks, and sometimes through straight-up assassination of your rivals. Mamluk politics were deadly. Today's sultan could be tomorrow's corpse if he made the wrong enemies. If you managed to reach your 30s without dying in battle or getting murdered in some political scheme, you might be given command of your own unit. Now you're responsible for training new slave boys, continuing the cycle. The weird part is that even though you were once in their position, you'll probably be just as harsh on them as your trainers were on you. That's just how the system perpetuates itself. The most successful Mamluks could reach incredibly high positions. You could become an emir, commander, a provincial governor, or even the sultan himself. The Mamluk Sultanate was one of the few slave systems in history where slaves could actually rise to become the absolute ruler. But for every Mamluk who reached the top, thousands died in obscurity on battlefields or in the endless political assassinations that characterized Mamluk governance. If you somehow reach your 40s and 50s, you're now one of the elder statesmen of the Mamluk system. Your body is wrecked from decades of combat, but your experience is valuable. Younger Mamluks seek your advice and protection. You've likely accumulated considerable wealth through your military campaigns. The Mamluks were well compensated with both regular salaries and a share of war loot. You probably have a nice house in Cairo, multiple wives, servants, and all the trappings of the military elite. But here's the catch. You can never pass your Mamluk status to your children. The Mamluk system was non-hereditary by design. Your sons cannot become Mamluks because they were born Muslim. Remember, Mamluks had to be purchased as non-Muslim boys. Your children might be wealthy and connected, but they'll never have the military status you fought so hard to achieve. The next generation of Mamluks will be fresh imports from the Caucasus or Central Asia who will look at your sons as soft city boys. The life expectancy of a Mamluk varied widely. Many died during training or in their first battles. Others were killed in the constant political infighting, but those who survived could live into their 60s or even 70s as respected military leaders. When you die, you'll be buried with honor in one of the magnificent Mamluk tombs that still stand in Cairo today. Elaborate domed structures that showed just how important the Mamluk military elite was to their society. So that's the life of a Mamluk slave soldier. Kidnapped as a child, trained to kill, and thrown into a system where you could either die young or rule an empire. It's a strange combination of slavery and elite status that existed nowhere else in history. But that's just what happens when you're born to become a Mamluk, so good luck with that.